Have you ever walked into a room and asked yourself, why am I here? Or lost your words mid-sentence? Or even asked yourself, is there something serious wrong with my brain? You are not alone. Menopausal brain fog is real, it's common, but you are not losing your mind. This is a normal response due to hormone, metabolic, and nervous system shifts in midlife. In fact, it's one of the most distressing symptoms in perimenopause and menopause, not because it's painful, but because it's frustrating and it can be scary thinking you're getting early dementia. So we are here today to talk about the 5 top reasons why this happens and 5 top things you can do to help resolve it. So let's start with why do I have menopausal brain fog? Number 1 is estrogen loss. You have widespread receptors for estrogen in your brain. And when you start to lower your estrogen production, which happens late perimenopause into menopause, those receptors aren't getting utilized. So the brain begins to suffer. Plus, estrogen helps the brain utilize the fuel it needs to function. And so when you're losing estrogen, it can't do that as efficiently. Number 2 is blood sugar instability. So very often we get into this blood sugar roller coaster effect in our day. And so when we have those peaks and those valleys, that affects how our brain feels. In fact, the brain is one of the first organs to feel that impact. And so when we think about midlife, metabolically, we're less flexible and we don't have the same capability to regulate that blood sugar response. So we have to work a little bit harder on that. Number 3 is cortisol. So our primary stress hormone and our response to stress. So you probably feel this in midlife where it might be a small, insignificant stressor, but it feels like it throws us over the edge and we overreact. We are less stress resilient. It doesn't take a whole lot to throw us over that edge. We're going to react and respond much differently than we did pre-menopause. Estrogen also helps buffer that stress response. So all of those things are putting a play on how our brain functions in this stage of life. Because when you're less stress resilient, your brain doesn't utilize the fuel it needs because your body's preparing for fight or flight to physically do that, but you don't really need to. So the brain takes a hit. The 4th thing is sleep disruption. So we know that, right? In perimenopause and menopause, we're so frustrated with that tossing and turning, that dreaded 2 to 4 a.m. wake-up call. In midlife, we naturally have a drop in both deep and REM sleep. REM sleep is most important in regards to our brain health because REM sleep is when our brain resets, recovers, and regenerates. That tends to happen between that 2 and 6 a.m. time prior to waking. Well, that's when we get that wonderful wake-up call where we wake wide awake and we just cannot fall back asleep. So that is another reason. Number 5 is neuroinflammation. Big word, but that means brain inflammation. So anytime we have an inflammatory insult in our body, whether it's gut dysfunction, it's inflammatory foods, it's stress, it's hormone shifts, that affects how our brain will function because all systems are connected and they affect each other. All right, so now that we know the 5 reasons, what are the 5 things we can do to help fix it, to resolve this? Number one, eat enough. So we midlife women are really good at, again, getting frustrated with the weight gain and the belly fat gain, the menobelly, that we eat less. We eat a lot less carbs and we overexercise. So our brain cannot get the fuel it needs. We need to make sure we are eating adequately and that we're not over restricting even the carbohydrates, which is the primary fuel, glucose, for our brain. Now you can break down some fat to make ketones, which the brain can use, but we do need a balance. And that's number 2, stabilize your blood sugars. So we want to get off that roller coaster. We want to stabilize because we know in midlife, we're just metabolically less flexible. We're going to have more susceptibility to that blood sugar effect. So how do we do that? We make sure we eat 3 nutritionally balanced meals. Make sure you get your protein, your fiber, and your fats. And if you're going to have carbohydrates, let's face it, we're going to have carbohydrates. Ideally, we want whole grains with just one ingredient, some fruit, some legumes, but sometimes we're going to have those fun foods. Just make sure you pair that with protein and fat to help prevent that blood sugar effect, that blood sugar roller coaster effect. So if you've got the protein and the fat with those carbs, you can help blunt that blood sugar roller coaster. Number 3, prioritize your sleep. So we know that we want sleep, right? It just gets disrupted. But what we can do is really hone in on the timing, the duration, and then the quality will hopefully come along for the ride. So timing wise, we want to make sure that we have a consistent bedtime and wake time all 7 days of the week. Now that means you can fluctuate about an hour on either end, but really don't want to go much more than that. Ideally from 10 p.m. to somewhere around 8 a.m. So 8 hours of actual sleep. So you might want to look into a wearable to know, okay, how much total sleep am I getting? How much deep, how much REM? You don't have to use it all the time because sometimes that can be overwhelming and stressful in and of itself, but sometimes we need a little bit more data in that regards. So we talked about the timing, and then in regards to the kind of the hygiene, the environment. We want our room dark and cool, mid-60s cool. Also, think about what you're doing before bed. So if you're on devices, if you're doom scrolling on your phone, if you're working, that can be really stressful mentally as well as physically. Any type of blue light is going to increase cortisol, which is going to decrease melatonin, which helps us sleep. So make sure that you are digital detoxing at least 30 minutes, if not 60 minutes before bed, maybe a warm Epsom bath, some deep breathing, some meditation, light reading with a physical book or magazine. Number 4, reduce your cognitive load because we're already talking about that menopausal brain fog. So our cognition, our brain is challenged right now. So if we keep trying to multitask, we're not good multitaskers in midlife. Our brain can't handle it. So really try to do just one task at a time. Complete it before you move on to the next. I know that sounds insane, but you will actually feel way better doing that mentally and physically. Think about keeping fewer tabs open, literally, but also mentally. So really try to do one thing at a time. We know that our brain function is a little more challenged right now, so don't rely on the memory. Write things down, especially important things. It is a-okay to do that. And number 5, support your nervous system. We know we're less stress resilient, and what we do as women, especially in midlife, is we're pedal to the metal. That's accelerator down all day long. And that's just going to make it harder for our brain to function. So we need to take our foot off of the accelerator, intentionally put it on the brake. How can you do that? To create more safety and more calm is implement some casual walking outdoors in nature if you can. That has been shown to reduce physical and psychological stressors. Take breath breaks. Focus on closing your eyes, taking some deep belly breaths where your exhale is twice as long as your inhale. Even if it's just 3-5 minutes at a time, but several times throughout the day. Just check in. And then make sure you're scheduling me time. Because what do we do otherwise? We create no white space in our calendar with our to-do list, our errands, our chores, all of our responsibilities that we get lost. So make sure you build in me time, self-care time, white space time. So menopausal brain fog is not brain failing. It is your brain telling you it needs more support. It needs more calm, not more pressure. So if this topic resonates with you, like and subscribe to my channel and share this with another woman you know who is also dealing with a foggy brain. And I look forward to seeing you in our next video.